Hello, hello, hello. Today is Thursday, November 2nd, 2023. My name is Alexis Briggs Brignoni, and I'm accompanied by my co host, the horse whisperer, the report corrector, the master of peer review disaster, the one and only Heather Charpentier. The music is Higher Up by Shane Ivers and can be found at silvermansound.com. And here we go. Here we start. Hello, hello, Heather.
Hello.
Thank you for putting up with me and my colorful introductions of your pure awesomeness. There we go. Now
I always wonder what it's going to be.
Yeah. So, as people may have noticed from the intro there, I mentioned you're the horse whisperers because I'm dying for you to tell us what you did over your well-deserved vacation.
Well, in case you didn't figure it out, I went away and went horseback riding. I went away for a week to an all-inclusive horseback riding ranch, and it was in Georgia. And I'm going to share a little something from my trip. So I went away and relaxed for a week and horseback rode twice a day. It was wonderful. I did not want to come back.
Well,
I am back. I plan on visiting again.
Why does your why the long face? Why does he have a long face? You know, what I mean? For those who are listening, it's a horse. So why the long face? Get it? Yeah, I'm lame like that. Look, I was totally living vicariously through you as you sent me a few pictures during your trip. I'm like, I wish I was there.
This was my riding companion for the week, Grace. She was my horse for the week.
Beautiful horse.
Yes.
And Heather was like, I'm like, hey, are you coming tomorrow? Coming back? She's like, almost crying that she didn't want to come back.
Yeah, no, I did not want to come back. And I left and did not bring a computer with me at all. Felt a little naked for the week, but I did not bring a computer at all. I did have my test phones with me though.
So you had a little bit of a drug still with you there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, that's awesome. It's well deserved rest, and I'm really happy that you have fun.
Thank you. So, what were you up to?
Well, obviously, there's no way I'm gonna outdo you
Of
your awesomeness. Of course not. But so Halloween was what? Yesterday? No, the day before.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm just gonna share a picture of my elaborate costume, which is absolutely the opposite of elaborate. And again, for those folks that are not seeing because they're hearing, it's just me with a like Jason, the serial killer mask, and that's
very creative.
Extremely creative. Well, my kids loved it. One was dressed as the Mandalorian. My little one was dressed as an alligator, which is the most Florida, costume you can get is an alligator, right? I mean, Florida.
That's very good.
Yeah. So no, it was a good time. I mean, the kids loved it, and Halloween is for the kids. So
the alligator was the youngest.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
He had a tail, so that was the best part.
Oh my goodness, that's cute.
Yeah, but no, I mean, so yeah, so again, good week. 2 weeks away, some vacation. We did Halloween. Now we're getting into the holiday season, and we want to start the discussion talking about some tools. And let's get serious now. And this tool is from CCL Solutions Group, and it's called Rabbit Hole. So CCL Solutions, it's a digital forensics company over in the UK across the pond. And the tooling was made by Alex Caithness. And as always, full disclosure, we don't get it paid or anything like that for showing these tools. We just show them because we think they're neat and might be useful, and we also critique them if we need to, right? And the second part is also for full disclosure. Alex is a good friend of mine, a good friend of the stream. He has helped, and through CCL in putting out a lot of open source libraries that folks use for digital forensics, me included. So I'm definitely appreciative of his voluntary work for the community, and also we're grateful for CCL Solutions Group for allowing him to do so. So with that being said, I definitely want Heather to show us how Rabbit Hole works and why do we think it's a pretty cool tool. So
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to give a brief overview of Rabbit Hole, not all of its functionality, but uh, brief, just a brief overview of a few of its functions. Rabbit Hole combines data format viewers into a single user interface. So let me share my screen so you can see what Rabbit Hole looks like here.
and you mentioned viewers and folks that listen to the other episodes know that viewers, they're your friends, but you cannot really depend on them. This viewer has actually made me change my mind in a lot of those assumptions. Like this is a really really good, I believe viewers should be what you're gonna see now. So just get ready as there we go, it's up. So here's gonna tell
So
us.
yeah, as you can see, super simple interface. Not much to see when you first open it, but go right for file and you can open the file you're looking for. It asks you if you want to start a new dig project. So the projects in this tool are called a dig, and you can create a dig. I'm just gonna call it test for the purposes of the podcast here.
Yeah, you have one called test already. You want to call it test one just in case?
Oh yeah, good idea. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah,
I was testing it earlier.
it's a test of a test.
We will test again for my second test. Had to make sure it was going to work here. And then you can just browse out. So the tool supports numerous different data formats. You guys can't see my screen right here, but I'm just going to read some of them off to you. So there's ABX, Android binary, XML format, Ben code, binary formats, Chromium, Level DB, Index DB, local storage. There's hex view, there's image view, there's JSON, Level DB, protobuf, SQLite, numerous different data storage formats. And you can find all of that listed right on their website. And I'm going to put that up on the bottom of the screen now. I am not sure why we can't see the screen where I am. So I'm going to just try and reshare here. There we go. So this is where I was reading from. So there's all kinds of different formats that the tool supports. I'm going to browse out, and for the first test here, I am going to grab just the packages XML in an Android phone. The tool will suggest a couple of formats that you can open the file as. This file itself is suggesting that it be open in the ABX Android binary format or hex view. I'm going to go with the Android binary format and open that up. Oops, I have to choose it first and hit OK. And then everybody can see on the screen. And for those listening, I encourage you to go out and get the 30-day trial of the tool, Rabbit Hole. There's a 30-day trial if you go out to their website and sign up. This tool is amazing. Here.
And something that as Heather is kind of navigating the interface, something that's really really good about this tool is we're used to looking at a viewer, right? And the viewer, you say, well, it's protobuf, you see the protobuf, right? But what happens when there's, let's say, a plist inside that that protobuf? Well, you either have to take that protobuf out and open it separately, or get another tool to open it, right?
Right.
This is great because as she will show in a second, you can go and say, okay, this is inside this format. Oh, I found another a nested different format. It recognizes it, and you can go keep digging. Hence the dig, right? You keep digging down those to get what data you need, and it supports so many formats. It's super awesome.
So I actually have an example of that coming up. For this particular file, the packages XML, I'm going to show you how you can create a report. So with this XML, you can go choose which data you want to add to a report, and it has a free form report builder built right into the tool. you can go choose a certain section of the XML file. And what you do is you right click and go to their report building section and choose build record query. And if you don't remember what I'm showing you at some point, there are also videos on the website that show you how to do this. And then once you've chosen where you want to build the record query, you choose which portions of that record you want to put into your report, and you pick build field query. That will add the portions to your report you can see over here on the right-hand side. I'm just going to add a couple. I'll just add a couple to the report, and I'll show you how to create a report here. And then up under export, there's export results grid. There's an HTML, a TSV, and an XML format. You can choose whichever you like and go out and create a report. I'm just going to call it report. And we'll save it right to the desktop. And I actually already have one created. So let me just share that screen with you. And this is one I created earlier. So
awesome. And folks that are listening, the process of doing this is so easy. And you had a chance later to watch the stream, the recording later. The visual one is so good. It's so easy. Just picking out the records, and from those records, the fields that you need. It's a breeze.
So this is a report that I actually created earlier out of that package XML. Added a bunch of data. And I'm going to zoom in here for you. I added the name field, the code path field, native library path field, and then an installer field. And you can add whatever records and fields you want to add to the report. I may have said column. I see the records and fields down there. I'm trying to break my habit of saying tables and columns and rows and columns. I'm getting there.
Yeah, and let me make again underline that point. Like, we're so used to seeing data, and this is a conversation that we had with Alex, and he made me a convert. I'm a true believer now.
I'm still trying. So that's how the report works. I'm going to show a couple of more because Alexis actually talked about the different data formats that are stored within others. And I think it's important to show some of those. So let me get it back open.
Yeah, and let me make a quick point. We like, or at least we're trying to move to records and fields, because not all data comes in like a SQL database, right? In columns and rows, right? It could be hierarchical, like a JSON file, right? Or that XML that is best represented as a tree going down, right? So there's no columns like that, right? It's going down. So records and fields, it can describe both data that's in columns and rows, but it can also describe data as hierarchical or a tree structure formats. So it makes total sense to me that the word records and fields should be the more appropriate term for, at least for our field.
It makes sense to me too. I'm just having a hard time breaking old habits.
No, and for the longest, right? Digital forensics in regards to mobile, a lot of it was just pure SQLite. So of course, rows and columns, right? And we kind of trained with that way. But now we're having to move everybody to more different data structures, not only SQLite. And we have to also make that mental switch in how we present things.
Right. So I just brought in one of the level DB files, and I'm going to just scroll down here to, it was, let's see here, this one here. So here's an example. This is a level DB. I believe this one is related to Snapchat, but you see here that the format, I don't want to look at it like this. I'm going to come down here and right click and choose the reparse as, and the tool will give you a few options on how you may want to reparse the data. I know that this is stored as protobuf. I'm going to choose protobuf, but you can try the different options if you're not quite sure how to reparse the data. And you'll be able to figure out how to reparse the data.
Yeah, and
Um,
a quick note there for folks that are not watching. The column is, I mean, the again, I had to make the habit. The field is there, but it's not
mhm,
readable. It's like looks like gobbledygook. And what Heather is showing is she's going and reparsing, and the tooling gives you some guesses of what would be the best one, but it doesn't tell you what's the best one. You can make, like Heather is saying, make those choices. Maybe the one the tool picked is the one that you that you need, but maybe not, and you can switch that. You have that ability as well.
right. So I'm going to reparse it and you take a look at the data. And then you have here we can see actually this one was TikTok. So we have a TikTok. There's a Google Sender ID. You'll find some more information about the actual IDs in this same level DB. In one of those other fields, there's also some Snapchat, and there were parts of some messages back in that level DB. So you can use this all records as a meme. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
We're putting some message there that Alex is in the chat and said we have to do a it's all
Yeah.
records always was meme. And if you're not familiar with that meme template, I'll work on it after the show, so don't you worry. It'll be out before the day is over.
Yeah. So you can use that reparse feature to then take the protobuf data, make it into a readable format with this tool, and then use the freeform report builder to turn that into a readable format or a readable report for your cases or for your presentations to court or your presentations
Hmm.
for whatever you need them for. I'm going to show one more of those because I kind of like this feature. I love that you can't really read what's going on here. So,
Oh yeah,
and then the
yeah.
reparse feature, and we'll come down for the protobuf and see what's in there, and see if this one has maybe a little bit more. Yeah, same type of thing, right? So we have the Google Sender ID in this one and a little bit more information than the last one. Some of these actually have full text messages in them, depending on which level DB you choose and which application it relates to.
Yeah, and you can keep reparsing. If you know what the format that's next, you can keep reparsing going down the line. So it's
Right.
pretty neat.
So a lot of times I'll use this. I'll be maybe in Celebrite or Axiom or something, and I'll do a search across the entire extraction, and I'll find hits for keywords, and they'll hit in these level DBs. I'll figure out which level DB it is, and then export the level DB and go looking in that level DB file for what I'm seeing the hits in. I would use this tool for that. I would definitely export the level DB that I'm seeing the hits and bring it into this tool and create the free form report right here in this tool. These reports are great. And I haven't found, I mean, I think A-Leap is excellent with the reports, but this is great too. Another alternative for the reports.
No, and 2 points on that. The first is
Mhm.
we're really like mobile forensic centric in this stream, this podcast, but this works with any data source. Like it's not. Don't assume that because we're talking about it has to be about phones. No, it
Oh
works
yeah.
with stuff from like a computer,
Mhm.
desktop, whatever. Right? You got a data source. You can use this as a viewer. And the second point is um, we and I think Jessica mentioned it in the chat. In the projects that we leverage within ALEAP and iLeap, those are community projects to parse data sets for mobile devices. It's open source; anybody can contribute. We
Mhm.
leverage some of those libraries that CCL and Alex has created for level DBs, for looking at Firebase code messaging, to look at protobufs. So it's really awesome. And again, I want to just repeat again for the folks that might have come into the stream a little bit late. It's called a rabbit hole. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you will have the link of where to get it. We will add the link in the show notes for the folks that are just listening, and you can go to the show notes and try it out. And like Heather said, there's a 30-day, right? 30-day
Yeah, 30 days. Yep.
trial, which is plenty of time for you to get in love with the tool and give it a shot. And again, this is we got paid $0 for this.
Yeah.
We want to show it because we think it's pretty neat. I believe Rabbit Hole is the way. If you're gonna use a viewer, he has to do this. If he doesn't do this, you're gonna be doing a lot of manual labor to get to where you need to
Yeah.
get. This tool, and you can tell, right, is done by an examiner for examiners like everybody here, right?
Definitely.
It's not a programmer that came from nowhere. It's somebody that does the work that we do and knows how we need to show the things that we need to show. So
Right. I didn't need the 30 days. I've already requested that my job buy it for me.
mhm.
I think it's great. I do want to show too the SQLite viewer. So I just brought it in. I didn't do a demo of it, but the SQLite viewer I think is pretty good too here. I brought in just a SQLite database, an account SQLite database, and you can see here the accounts. There is too for the dates and times. If you right click on the dates, you can reparse epoch time and it'll pop into another view and give you the option to calculate the date and time. And the result will be right here for the date and time. And you can see here all of the account information. And even out of the SQLite view here, you can do the reparse and for the blob data here. Let me come down. I lost my cursor here. Where'd it go? Came onto the other page. But you can reparse out. Completely went onto the other page. But you can reparse the data from the blobs stored within inside the SQLite databases as well.
And what a useful
Oh, there we go.
capability.
There we go.
Oh, beautiful.
Sorry. It
Beautiful.
went behind the tool. I think that has something to do with sharing the screen, but you can come right inside the blob data from.
And that's a P list, right?
Yes. Yep. Binary P list. Yep.
Yeah, and for folks again, those are not watching, this is the whole records and fields comment we just made, right? This data
Yes.
is hierarchical, right? So it's going down. So now you can pick those records, go to the fields, and reparse as you need. So how awesome it is! You don't have to. Like you were saying, Heather, right? Usually, if you have a blob inside a SQLite database, well, let's pull the blobs out and then do
Right.
something with them, and then there's something in it. Let's do something else, and you do all
Right.
that process for one, and then you have to repeat it for
Yes.
the second one and the third one. Yeah, insanity. So this really automates that creation process.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that anymore. And I've heard that there are some new features coming to the tool, maybe like after the first of the year that are going to be pretty awesome. So stay tuned for that. I can't give any secrets out, but it's going to be really, really good for people who maybe aren't the best at coding, who aren't Alexis Brignoni, who maybe are a little bit more like me, and can't do all of that coding themselves. So stay tuned for maybe some types of automation secrets that will be added to the tool.
Actually, we'll be sworn to secrecy, so we cannot tell yet.
Yeah, I can't tell.
Yeah, pricing. I mean, obviously, we don't talk about pricing. We're not gonna tell you what to buy, not to buy, or how it costs. But go to the link. You can check that out, and
Yeah.
everything is over there. And then you can reach out to CCL, and they'll hook you up with pricing and whatever it is. So,
Yeah, and I just showed you a few of the functions. There's a lot more functionality with this tool than what I just showed. So definitely get the trial and check it out. Definitely worth checking out.
yeah, Abraham is saying yes, voodoo coding, and I think I'm gonna
Right.
kick you out from the chat now.
So Abraham, I'm with you right now. I need to learn. So I do know I need to learn, but anything that is going to help me while I learn is awesome. So
Absolutely. So yeah, no, it's a great tool. Go check it out. I believe it's the viewer of the present and the future, and hopefully
yeah.
other vendors, realize that they need to step up their game.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so moving on, there's been a lot of chatter on your LinkedIn page from a post you put up about moot court. You put a picture up and your agency was holding moot court, and our agency actually has been holding some mock trials as well. And so there were a few requests that maybe we talk about that a little bit. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. I'll let
Yeah.
you get started.
No, yeah, and I was surprised. Like, I was helping out, and I wasn't helping out fully this go around. We do it a couple times a year, because of conflicts, and I had something that was planned. It got canceled, so I showed up and said, "Hey, I want to help." So I got a chance to help a little bit, as opposed to be fully in the event from the beginning to the end, right? So they were kind enough to let me help, um, and it was great. I mean, I put a picture of myself. Maybe if you can find it, you can show people there. But
Oh, yeah, I'll look for it
yeah,
while you're talking.
yeah, and I made a kind of a comment of, what's moot court, right? You're not familiar. We're gonna explain that in a second, right? What is it, and what benefits can your agency and your examiners, especially if they're new examiners, can get from it? And it got a lot of comments and feedback on it. And I think one of the things I came across is that, and I think look at somebody read my mind in the chat, right? One of the things I took from the reading the comments is that it's not done enough,
Yeah,
and in some organizations it's not done at all, and or in some others, reading the chats in LinkedIn, some other countries they never been to a moot court. Their first experience at trial is an actual trial, right? And that's a hard thing, right? Like, uh we don't expect people to have done their first forensic examination for a case. No, we train them with them, and we give them tests, data sets or fake cases to work on, so they
right.
can practice. And if you're gonna commit a mistake, you want to make sure you commit those mistakes on test data, on a fake case, not on a real one, right? But why do we have the expectations that people are just gonna do their examinations and sit on the stand and testify and talk about it without ever going through that experience, right? And that's me, helping out. I have my suit on,
All
and
fancy.
yeah, no, and that's something I mentioned that I believe that I mentioned in the LinkedIn post, is that when you go into this experience of recreating moot court, what moot court is you recreate the court experience. You have a judge, of course, a fake judge, but the judge, and you have, the defense and the prosecution. They could be, actual lawyers that want to help you out with the process, or they could be other examiners, or maybe, law enforcement agents that have a lot of experience and they can pretend to be, lawyers, right? I prefer to have actual lawyers. It makes it even better. And then you have the person that did the examination, and that person has to, present, direct, and then have a cross from the defense, right? And it's a lot of fun for me watching. It's not a lot of fun for the person going through the experience, but it's okay because you learn a lot and grow from that, right? So yeah, so the point of the picture is I have a suit on. So one of the things I think is important is, if you're doing this kind of like a fake court, try to make it as real as possible, right? As Make the fake court as real as possible, even though it's fake. You want to have a nice table with a mantle, and where the judge sits, give him a little, hammer to hammer things. Like, what's it called? What's that? No, it's not a hammer. What's it called? A gavel.
Gavel.
Yeah, gavel, a hammer. Oh my god, a
A
gavel.
hammer works.
I guess if I were to be the judge, I want one that looks like the one that Thor uses in the movies.
There
Anyhow,
you go.
give him a gavel, right? Make sure everybody wears a suit, that they're all dressed as they would dress for court, and make it something serious. If you want to take it to the next level, and I recommend that as well, have a jury, and the jury is not going to make a decision about the fake case. They will listen, make it sure it's other examiners, so they can get feedback, useful feedback for the person that's testifying. Not just burn the person down. We don't want to do that, right? Well, we want to make sure that they get, positive critiques, right?
Yeah, definitely positive critiques. I think so when we do the mock trials, everybody is so nervous, and I actually have had people come to me like, I'm so nervous. How should I prepare? Is this going to be terrible? And uh, some of the things I say to them are, yes, you're going to be nervous. It's not going to be like fun. Don't expect it to be
Mm-hmm.
fun. It's definitely not going to be, but it's necessary. Um, you're going to learn. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's supposed to be uncomfortable, but you want to go here. You want to make your mistakes here.
Mm-hmm.
We can provide you with the constructive criticism afterwards. We can correct your mistakes. And if you're going to make the mistakes and be nervous and make the big mistakes here, definitely don't want to do that in court where a defense attorney is going to eat you alive, or you're going to create bad case law for everybody in the forensic field.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And for those who are not familiar with the criminal side of the thing, if something that how you approach your cases, and when you create bad law, you're not affecting only your case, you're affecting people that are coming after you. And we say bad law, not that the law is bad, but that interpretation could have been uh, presented in a way that's more accurate than what and because you didn't do that part, you could affect some other cases coming down the line, right?
Right.
um I think I want to share this comment here from Troy. He's saying that the attorney will learn as much as you, and that's a good point, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you have an attorney there, you have to you as the person being tested work with that attorney to to talk about how you're going to do your direct, and then the other attorney, the one that's going to cross you, also has to look at your product and kind of cross you on it. And one of the recommendations I want to tell people is make sure that that attorney, you assign them with another examiner from your unit, like experienced one that will help that attorney. Hey, look, this is the document the person that's going to testify has made. These are some of the weak points that me, technically speaking, can point out, because
Mm-hmm.
you cannot expect your attorney to know as much as you do about forensics, right? The
Right.
experienced examiner. So that examiner will help that attorney get some of those with the weaker points to test the trainee in the moot court environment. And again, not to burn the person down, to build them up, build that confidence,
Right.
and put a little bit of pressure on them.
Definitely. Yeah, they
Yeah.
have to be uncomfortable. But you're right. At the end, when you go around the room and everybody gives you your positive feedback and the things that you can do better, it should all be like a good experience at the end. It's all meant to make you be a better examiner and be better in court.
Yeah, and one point I mean, we discussed, but I just remembered having conversations with Heather about this. Tell the attorney is going to do the cross, right? Make sure that you understand what the purpose of the event is, because if they're going to start crossing them about what they like for 30 minutes about what their previous work experience is, or how they wrote a report, if they made grammatical mistakes, which first of all, we don't want to have those, but
Right.
it shouldn't be about that, right? It should be about the technical aspects, right? And it could be as something as simple as, well, you mentioned this is a binary P list. What is a binary P list, examiner so and so? And have them talk about, try to explain to the fake jury those technical aspects of the work, right? So it's not only grill them on their inconsistencies, if there's any, right? Or maybe they wrote something in a way that could be misinterpreted, so we're gonna drill them there, but have the trainee go over the technical aspects, because we want to have all the trainees and all the examiners, no matter what your experience level is, be able to communicate clearly these technical aspects, right? In my outfit, we call them technical terms. And we have a list of technical terms that, at a minimum, we expect an examiner to be able to convey clearly to the task holders, right? It could be the jury, the court, attorneys, everybody there that's present, okay? But it goes beyond that, right? It's not only those technical terms or a list that we give them. We have to continuously grow and think about how can we present things in a way that's clear. And I'm sorry, Heather, but I'm on my soapbox now.
You're good. You're good. I'm going to add to that though, because
Yeah,
I
yeah, go ahead.
think presenting them in a way that's clear and technical, but also presenting them in a way that somebody on the jury that might be like 65, 70, 75 can understand what you're talking about. Maybe give an analogy, or
Hmm.
just present it in a way that your grandmother is going to understand what you're talking about as well.
And,
You
and
can go
and
ahead, go back to your
no,
soapbox.
and actually it's perfect, because you were reading, you were like a mind melt, we were reading my mind. And I was gonna say what Heather said to, and that's perfect to lead to this point. Doing that explanation and analogy is not dumbing it down. And I hate that
Right.
term. You're not there to dumb it down, right? Because the juries are not dumb, right? They're folks and from all walks of life. They're your peers, and they will like understand if you explain it. So don't dumb it down. Explain it in a way that's digestible for a person that's not technical. And that's a skill that takes practice. You have to think about the analogies that you might use, and maybe get a friend that's not technical and say, hey, what do you think about this? I'm talking about what's an IP. And IP, and explain what an IP is with some examples, some analogies, like Heather said. but not dumbing it down. I hate that term,
Right.
and I don't like it.
Yeah.
The jurists are not stupid. Which, by the way, again, in my soapbox, this exercise, because the facts are what they are, right? And your examination is what it is, right?
Right.
The important part of this process is you be able to present that and be credible, right? And not because we're trying to make somebody believe a lie, right? We're trying to have people understand what happened, what we found in our examinations, right? And credibility is important. And I have some a list here. How do you build credibility, right? Well, you build it by a couple of things. First of all, explaining clearly, right? Have a calm demeanor, and depending on what your districts are, some districts, I work in the federal system, is pretty calm, serious, right? But some other districts, the lawyers may be really animated and will try to get you mad on the stand, for example, right? And you have to keep your composure. You have to treat your side, be it the defense or the prosecution, though I don't care which side you are in, which if you can be an examiner for either side, right? And you got to treat one side which is the same deference and understanding than the other side. It don't matter, even though we're in an adversarial legal system, the facts have no sides. Right? The facts are
Right.
what they are, and I'm more than happy to answer questions from the defense. I'm happy to answer questions from the prosecution. I'm happy to answer questions from the judge if the judge decides to ask me a question, right? And that builds that credibility, keeping that calm demeanor, right? You have a few others you want to share about building credibility, Heather?
Yeah. So I mean, I I feel like if you are asked a question and you truly do not know the answer to it, do not try and guess. Answering a question I don't know in this field is okay.
Mhm.
Um, you're not going to know everything always. Excuse me. Um, you should not be answering every question you're asked. I don't know. You are the expert testifying. So you need to be able to answer most of the questions with with a good answer, a good technical answer, and know what you're talking about. But if there comes a question where you absolutely don't know the answer, answer it accordingly. Don't try and answer.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely, absolutely, so important.
yeah. Yeah, I
And
think that's really important.
no, and you know, like you're saying, you know, and maybe you can recall at that point, right? And if that's the case, make sure that you have those reports, and you can tell that I cannot recall, and the attorney might tell you, well, examiner, agent Bignoni, is there something that might refresh your recollection? And you can tell them, well, my report will help me, and it might be provided to you, and then you read your report again, the sections that are of importance, you refresh your recollection, and then you speak about it, which leads to another point. Your reports, you will live and die by your reports, right? And your notes. That's why they have to be
Oh,
detailed.
yes.
They have to answer the things at the level necessary to be able to do those, because nobody expects you to remember every single bit and byte from a 4 terabyte hard drive. Like, nobody
Right.
will expect
Right.
that. But your report should address things that are relevant to the case and that give the facts of things that happened in the past as you're presenting, giving them in the present, right? So, and again, make sure your reports are good. You will live and die by them, right?
Yeah.
And again, that's another part, credibility, like Heather's saying if you don't know, you don't recall, then you say that. Never hazard a guess. As situations, I'm not going to talk about specific cases, but when I've been on the stand and I literally didn't recall, but I have a notion of what it was, so I had to make a decision in my mind. Do I go with my notion, or really accept that I cannot recall the details? And that was the best course of action, right? If you don't remember the details, don't try to guess. Well, I always do it that way. Don't do that, because you're gonna get in problems. Remember, you're under oath, and
Yeah.
that means a lot, and that's credibility, right? um
Yeah.
I have a couple
I
more.
think
Go
you
ahead.
need to be prepared for the unexpected too, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of times you'll go to court and be over prepared. So you're over prepared for all these crazy questions the defense is going to ask you, and not be asked any of them. But then the next time you go to court, you could be underprepared because they don't ever ask you anything. But
Hmm.
always be prepared for the unexpected. Be prepared for the defense attorney that knows what knows forensics, that knows what
Mhm.
they're going to ask you, and that knows what you're talking about, because you never know who they're going to have talked to. You never know what they know. Sometimes I will go testify and I am literally not asked anything. And then sometimes I'm asked questions and I'm like, how
That's
did you
true.
know to ask me that? Right? So just be prepared for the unexpected. Be prepared for the hard questions. And then if you're not asked the hard questions, so what? You were prepared. And I think that's really important, just to be prepared with all of the details of your case.
Oh, absolutely. And that also speaks to the importance that we don't think of our development as, well, I took a class and I'm done. Or if my agency doesn't send me to 5 classes this year, then too bad, right? There's got to
Yeah,
be a level, from my perspective, and I think you will agree with me, of that self responsibility to your own self growth. Because when
yes,
you have this body of knowledge that you're constantly aggregating, it helps you. You might not be ready for something, but you have the knowledge of
right.
how something works, right? And like, one time I was asked, so because this phone has a pin code, it's encrypted, correct? And usually the answer is yes, but is that the case? Well, is a pin code the only factor that determines if something is encrypted? Well, no, right?
Not
And that's
necessarily.
so you have to really that you have to go back to that well of knowledge that you're developing constantly as you're growing daily, and
Right.
and go into that. I want to make a quick comment, and is that make sure you deal with your attorney, be it on it don't matter what side, work with your attorney and make sure that you're on the same page. What I mean by that is you got to trust your attorney. And sometimes we get combative at court, moot court or real court, when the opposing side is crossing us or asking us questions and we want to set them straight, and that might not be the best time to do that. You got to trust that your attorney will come later and clarify some points, because at a level, the way I approach it is, I don't see the other side, I don't matter what side I'm in, I don't see the other side as being evil trying to contradict me. The way I see it is they have an interpretation of the facts, right? And I have a different interpretation, right? And my job is to show why my interpretation is the one that's best, that's credible, that the actual facts support it, right? And the other side is trying to do the same. And the fact finder, which is not me, neither the other side, the fact finders will take care of that, right? So it's not my
Yes.
responsibility. Does that make sense, Heather? Like, I want to just, hey, look,
Yes.
this is what the facts show. This is what I, based on my training, my experience. The other side has a different idea. Then this is what it is, and the fact finders will take care of that. So it takes
Right.
pressure off of me. Like, it's not on me to have anybody believe anything. This is what it is, and this is what my investigation shows.
Yeah, I agree completely.
And again, if anybody in the chat, wants to throw a tomato at me and tell me that I'm wrong, and we're more than happy to hear that. And actually, it's a good point to me. It's a good moment for us to say that the expressions here are only ours. They do not reflect our agencies
Right, right. Oh,
or our
yeah, absolutely.
employers. These are just our opinions based on our experiences. Troy,
So, yeah.
just real quick, and I'll let you go
Oh,
on.
yeah, go ahead.
Troy is saying, yes, trust the attorney to come back and allow you to clarify. It's not your
Yeah.
job to fight with the attorney asking questions. And thank you, Troy, because that's what I was trying to say in a lot of words, and you made it really succinct, really clear, and I love it. Right? It's not your job to fight with the attorney asking questions. Love it. I'm gonna steal that from you moving forward.
Oh, but wait. Yeah, I was just gonna do that. You gotta have the tomatoes too.
Kevin is throwing me tomatoes in the chat. Thanks, Kevin. I'll make some salsa with it. Eat some chips.
So I think that there needs to be more training courses available for courtroom testimony. I know that a lot of employers are doing moot courts and mock trials. Ours recently started doing it, and I wish that that had been available to me almost 9 years ago when I first started. I actually was asked, "What kind of training do you want?" when I first started my job, and that was what I asked for. There was nothing available at the time for that. I think I read some papers and some books on it.
Mhm.
But we're doing that now at my agency, and I know a lot of other agencies are doing it. I've heard from some of our newer hires that it's being incorporated into a lot of the colleges. I saw a comment earlier from Jessica. I'm gonna throw it up here, that a lot of the universities are adding the moot court as part of the curriculum, which I think is awesome. that
Mhm.
needs to be done at universities, especially for anybody that's going into this field. I know it's being done at a lot of the conferences and at some of the trainings. I know NCFI, if anybody's familiar with NCFI, they've started doing some of the mock trial stuff. I'm not sure. Are you aware of any others that are doing the moot court or mock
And
trials?
and NCFI is only for law enforcement, correct?
Only law enforcement
Yeah.
only. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
just to
Yep.
make that clear, and I think we need. I say we as a community, as the field, right? Like you're saying, more training, and I see
Yeah.
like law enforcement has a lot of those, and I'm ignorant if the private sector or folks that work for the defense have that same experience or those settings. I don't know. I definitely would like maybe organizations that that support both law enforcement and private sector, civil sector, like IASIS, maybe come up with a course, and then maybe that's something
Yeah.
that we might have to ping some of the IASIS folks and say, hey, can we develop or put up a course? I'd be more than happy to help with that.
Oh, I would be. I would be too. We'll have to start harassing somebody.
Yeah, we'll talk to a few people on the board and say, hey, sorry to bother you. Hey, maybe it's something you should consider, and maybe do some of those. I know that I think you mentioned it. HCCIA has done a few kind of demos on those.
Oh, yep. I see it here in the comments. Jessica
There
saying
we go.
HTCI.
Yeah,
Um,
and kind of like a demonstration in front of a group. I think that's how it went. Jessica can correct me if I'm wrong. But I do believe it'll be really good to have, like you're saying, have a like a class, right, where you can say, look, we have some attorneys, we have some like a mock case, like a fake case with fake data, and during the week you're gonna prepare that case the first couple of days. We're gonna give you some presentation techniques, and then you're gonna apply it at the end of the course with a moot court with a judge, and it might take a couple of days, but everybody in the class should have a chance to go through the process, right?
yeah.
um, I think it would be a good idea. I said IASIS because we teach with them and they're a great
Right.
organization. But if anybody has any other ideas or knows about organizations that do this type of training, let us know and we'll be happy to put
Right.
it
So
out to
I'm
the
actually
community.
going to throw a couple up. I was
Oh,
trying to
awesome!
research this before we came on today. So Cybrary has, I think it's a 4 or no, this one's a 2 hour. So a 2 hour free course on cybrary.it. This is not law enforcement only. It's just a quick little course on witness testimony. I have not taken the course. So I'd be interested to know what people think, but that is a free course if you just create an account on cybrary.it's website. And then the other one I was able to locate was on NW3C, which is law enforcement only. And they have an expert witness testimony for digital forensic examiners course. So if you are law enforcement, you can create an account with NW3C. It's also free. And it's a 4-day course free for law enforcement. So if anybody's interested, those will be linked at the on our site at the end of the podcast. So
Yeah. And on the notes for
yeah.
the audio. Yes, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I wasn't aware of the Cyberary one, so that's open for everybody. Anybody can watch those, right?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so I think we could speak about moot court like for the whole. There's so much to talk about,
No.
and how do you present yourself, build that credibility. But I think maybe we can do a second part in the future in regards to testimony and stuff like that.
Yeah, we definitely could. Maybe we'll have the defense side on sometime and we can talk about the defense side. I think that
You
would
know,
be interesting.
no, I agree. It might be. I mean, we're not doing interviews yet, but maybe it could be one of
Right.
our first interviews, right? Bring
Yeah.
somebody in. That's awesome. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
I gotta put it on the notes.
We'll keep it on the back burner for when we decide to actually figure out how to add somebody else in.
Exactly. All right.
So,
So yeah.
yeah, so there's a few new things with the leaps that we kind of wanted to show. Did you want to introduce them or have me just go right in?
Again, like I said before, for folks that are not familiar, Python scripts to parse, analyze extractions from phones, both iOS, Android, and cars, and some others. And it's free. So, and we'll have the notes on where you can get them as well.
Okay. So I'm just going to show 2 new artifacts that we have with iLeap. And here we go.
which are artifacts that I did not make, and people really associate the tooling with me because I started it, but at this point, it's not my tool. It's the community's tool. Folks from all around. I think Johan is in the chat that helped out with a whole bunch of new ones that were coming up. So lots of appreciation for your work. Um, and man, I'll let you speak to who's contributing, but
We'll
it's a
go
community
Johan
effort.
first. Johan has
Mhm.
media events from the Knowledge C. I'm going to add Josh Hickman's full file system extraction from iOS 15 to show Johan's artifact. He has it here. It is the Knowledge C. So if you just scroll down in iLeap and find Knowledge C media playing artifact, I'm just going to throw it on the desktop here. And we'll just kick that off in iLeap.
And we're looking at the interface, the graphical user interface of the tool. There's also a terminal or command line version of it, and it runs pretty quick.
I'm just going to stop my share and share the report with you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pop that up.
And the report is the basic format is going to be HTML, which is a lot of good stuff coming out soon on that report that we'll talk about in the future.
So the new artifact is the Knowledge C media playing. And you can see here we have the media that was playing in the Knowledge C. We have start and end time. We have the playing state, the playing duration, the app bundle ID, the artist, the album, the title, the genre, media duration, airplay video, output device, and the time added are all part of the report. We can see that Josh really likes Naughty by Nature. Or this is Deefer, right? This is Deefer really likes Naughty by Nature.
Yeah, quote unquote, air quotes, Deefer. Yes, Deefer 2 loves
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. The Zoom meeting show here, Apple Music, and it shows all of the media playing.
We got a LinkedIn saying GUI for the show, CLI for the pro. Hey, don't hate on the GUIs, but the CLI has its command line interface, has a lot of its own benefits. But yeah, and you might
That
ask
was
yourself, well, why is that important? Like, what was he listening to? Look, it's when you use something, right, you leave a trace. The was it Locard? I want to say Picard, like Star Trek, but it's not Picard, it's Locard, right?
yeah.
A principle, right? And that helps with attribution, right? If you see how the person is using the browser, the media players, videos, you can really tell what that person is about, right? And sometimes what they're playing is something that they shouldn't be playing.
Right.
So yeah, so don't dismiss this type of artifacts. They're really important when you're creating a pattern of life analysis. And I think we mentioned that briefly in previous episodes, and we might have to go into that in the future. But pattern of life builds a profile of the suspect based on different parts of activity so that you can make determinations in regards to what you're trying to investigate. So super important stuff. And again, Johan, thank you so much for helping out everybody and keeping coming as you're able to. We appreciate it and we love it.
And then the other artifact in iLeap that I'm going to share is connecting Discord attachments to message threads. This one was shared by John Hyla. Blue Crew Forensics is his blog. And he actually wrote up an entire blog on how he figured this out and created the artifact. So I'm going to share that there on the bottom of the screen. It's probably going to pop away here for a minute, but it'll be back when I'm done sharing the screen.
And highlight I want to give him a lot of mad props because the first person that I came across that was dealing with the biome/segb files was him. And I don't know of anybody else in the planet that was dealing with those before him. and Geraldine Bly and myself we built on his research to do the version 1 segb parsers, which we'll talk about more maybe next episode. We built a lot of it on his work, and before anybody else, not even the big players came out with support, he was already dealing with those. So props to him and for putting it out for the community.
Yeah, so he's a fellow New Yorker. So I know him from New York, and when he was looking at those files, he called me. He's like, "What is this?" I said, "I have no idea." I kind of brushed him off. And then he figured it all out, which was amazing. But yeah, he's a fellow New Yorker right here. So he created this. It's Discord JSON is the artifact you'll choose for his, and we'll hit process here.
And John's in the house, so happy to see you,
He's
man.
there.
Yeah.
And we'll let that run. And I'm just going to stop the screen again for a minute and share that report. Give me 1 second.
Absolutely. I'm here as you're going and, chatting with people in the chat, a lot of folks coming in.
You're chatting with people in the chat?
And we got Mark, first time watching. Man, we're happy that you're here, and hope to see you again.
So here it is. I was looking for these attachments in my extraction the other night, and he found them for me. The lemons from Price Chopper. So we were up late the other night trying to find the lemons from Price Chopper, and he got them all attached in the iLeap report for me.
If life gives you lemons, make sure you make a report in iLeap about it.
Yeah, so these are part of my Discord attachments, and then we have also in the Sheldon Cooper and Amy Farrah Fowler extraction the string theory attachments.
Yeah, and people will say, well, those are just pictures. Let me tell you, there's sometimes the way they're presented, right? It will depend how you be able to pull them out and present them in a lot of factors in regards to resolution and all type of stuff. And he did a lot of work behind the scenes to be able to present those and add them to the report. So it's pretty awesome.
Right. So yeah, so I'm just explaining how I'm just showing the artifact in iLeap. Go read the blog. The amount of work that went into it is insane. I have to read it again to actually fully understand what he did to go figure this out, because as I said before, I'm not a coder, but it's really good. So go check out the blog, definitely.
Absolutely. All right, so we're running short on time. We got something more to show on the iLeap. That was it, right?
That was it for iLeap, yeah. Yep.
All right, perfect. So I want to move quickly because I just noticed the time. Again, time flies when you're having fun, right? And we love talking about all things forensics. So I want to highlight something really quick, important. 13 cube, and actually I have a shirt, 13 cube, and you can see here on my shirt, it's 13, a little cube there. It's by Richard Davis, and he's well known in the community. He does really well made, like visually appealing forensics on digital forensics and incident response, with a lot of emphasis on the incident response part. And he came out with a video recently talking about some changes made to the shell bags, Windows 11. I think I wrote it here, the 22H2 2023 update, right? And super important that we need to discuss it before we close the show out. And I think, but well, first, before we explain what the changes, let's explain what a shell bag is, right? And I think, Heather, you have a pretty good quote from the video about shell bags, right?
Oh, yeah. So I've watched the video like 3 times so I could be prepared for tonight. But actually, Richard quotes Eric Zimmerman, a comment Eric Zimmerman makes about the artifacts. And he says, like GPS for the file system, right? So I think that's a great quote, because shell bags are showing where the user is traveling in the file system, right? They're showing their access to these folders. They're showing where they've traveled, which folders they've accessed. And I think that's a great quote to kind of explain, not fully explain, but to kind of explain what shell bags are.
Well, and that speaks what you said before, moot court. It's an analogy, right? It's say, look,
right.
You want to know where the suspect or the person or the user, let's use user. The user was what directories the user was accessing, and when was the first time that it was accessed, right? And when that directory was created. Shell bags are there for you, okay? And it's like that GPS, right? And somebody will tell you, "Oh, I know nothing about that. That directory was there. I had no idea." And you go to shell bags, say, "Well, you interacted with it on this date, and it was created on this date, and the content of that folder is problematic, ma'am or sir," right? So it's super important. And for the longest time, shell bags only contained, and shell bags, well, I'd be remiss if I don't say this. They're contained in the user class.dat registries and nt user, right? Nt user.dat. Yeah,
Yes.
nt user.dat. Oh, another thing I will be remiss if I don't say this. This is Windows forensics for everybody. It's not an iPhone or
It's not a
or not a
phone.
phone. It's an actual computer artifact. So I don't want to hear any complaints about you only talk about phones.
My coworker Kevin is going to be very happy.
Well, Kevin, you better be happy, okay? So yeah, so Windows machines, those registries will keep those shellbacks information, right? And it kept track, that we mentioned, of first interaction with a directory or a folder, and creation, modified access, last access times, all that. Okay. Now, it was limited to those folders and zip files because, as you're all familiar, you can open a zip file using Windows Explorer. Now, with the update, this new version in Windows 11, now there's native Windows Explorer support for tar files. I make a list here. Yeah, for RAR files, uh, tar GC files, and some other more, right? So now you don't need to have a third-party tool to open these archives. You can do it through Windows Explorer. And that means that now the operating system considers those part of the quote-unquote file system. Therefore, you'll see those entries within shellbacks as well, okay? And I did not want to show you this on screen here because Richard has this awesome video. We share it there with you there on the screen. We put on the notes where he goes and shows the different formats, the new formats. He interacts with them, and then he looks at shellbacks to see if they're actually there, and they are. One of the tools, or the tool that he uses, and it's a well-known tool, and if you haven't used it for Windows Forensics, you have to. It's by Eric Zimmerman, and it's called Shellbacks Explorer. Okay,
Mhm.
and Troy is mentioning 7-zip is also part of those files that are now part of the shellbacks in Windows 11 update. So thank you, Troy. That's absolutely correct. 7-zip, which is pretty common, RARs, TAR-GCs, a whole bunch. Eric Zimmerman, and we used to be colleagues. Now he works at, I think it's Kroll, and he's saving the world from that position that he has. And he has literally, and he has a whole bunch of tools. Cape, I mean, a whole bunch of tools. If you're into Windows Forensics, or you're a new examiner and haven't heard about him, look for Eric Zimmerman EC tools, Echo Zulu tools, and get them. One of them is Shellbacks Explorer, and you can see that these new archives that are, well, they're not new, but the support is new. They're also viewable, registered within shellbacks. Okay, so check the video out and check out Eric Zimmerman tools. Did I miss anything on that, Heather?
I don't think so. I think that was good.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we're gonna try. I think we mentioned it. We're gonna try to bring more Windows topics in. Or I say Windows,
Yeah.
but forensics, computer forensics, Linux, Windows, not only cell phones. And if folks want to hear about some topics on incident response, let us know, and we'll be happy to kind of bring those. And from our lens as examiners and law enforcement, I'm more happy to do that.
Oh yeah, please suggest a way.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We had a couple of folks during the week for some topics, so but we're not gonna share them now. We're gonna develop them, and
Save
then we'll
that.
talk. Yeah, and then we'll talk about them. All right. So now we're gonna go to what, Heather? What are we doing now?
The meme of the week. We got to
Yes.
do it. We
Yes.
can't skip the meme of the week.
And this today we're doing what's it called, a world first, how can I say this, like it's never been shown before. It's a meme that we're inaugurating for the first time, right?
Yes, it hasn't been up on LinkedIn or any of the other social media platforms.
Exactly.
It's
So
new.
so this is the first time everybody's gonna see it, and then I'll post it
Yeah.
later in LinkedIn or whatever, right? So here we go. So the meme of the week, and for those who are not familiar with this tradition, we end the show always those, is that we take a meme template and we try to make some fun of ourselves, or or just kind of express some relatable experiences as examiners working digital forensics. And this one we have here, it's kind of a Breaking Bad meme, and what's the guy's name? Walter White, I think, or Walter something,
Yeah.
right? And the other his right hand man, and they're talking, and the guy says, the right hand man says, I forgot his name. Somebody in the chat will tell me the names. And yeah, world premiere. Thank you, Troy. That's the word I was looking for. This is a world premiere. Thank you. Um, so it goes and says, well, I found where the suspect was based on geolocation data from the phone. And then the other person says, "Oh, really? Where?" And he says, "In Florida," with emphasis, but also in Canada and China at the same time on the same day. And the other guy says, "What the heck are you talking about?" Right? And that's a riff from an episode, which is kind of follows the same and ends up saying that. What the heck are you talking about? And what do you think, Heather? You seen this before? Do you relate to this?
Completely relatable with locations in phones. I know we're going from the computers back to phones, but completely relatable with locations in phones. So I don't know how many times I've seen locations in phones where the date and time, they are in like 5 locations at the exact same time. That's just completely not possible. Right? I see in the chat validation, validation, validation. Thank you. Or
Yep,
validate,
absolutely.
validate, validation, even better. Thank you. Do not check all locations and send out a report. You will be sorry because your suspect will be in Florida, Canada, and China at the exact same time. It's not possible.
No, and there's some artifacts that they might look good, but like encrypted cache DB, right? And you're like, oh, whoa, this is it's in the location. And
Yes.
the way those are recorded, they're not recorded at the proper time. They might not record what you think it records. It might not even be the phone that was there at that point. It's something else, right? So
Yes.
you gotta be be sure that you know what you're doing. Like like Alex is saying, if you crowdsource a location based on a router location and they move the router, now what?
Yeah.
and, you,
Right?
and you can get in trouble. So and I see some of those reports as well, where folks um even if it doesn't hurt the case, quote unquote hurt, because you can put them all right,
Right.
and you can say, well, no, that's a location, but that location is not where the phone was, and you have to explain yourself. If you have to explain those, why, right?
Right.
Let's not put him there. If you know that this geolocation is not relevant because it comes from cache encrypted DB, for example, or is
Mhm.
because it's a location for a picture, an exit data of a picture that was received but not generated from the phone. So therefore, that geolocation was not where the phone was, for example. Then why put it on the report? Why highlight it? Why waste time having to explain that away? Just don't put it there to begin with,
Yeah.
and make my life easier as a peer reviewer, right? Don't have me go at what. Don't have me tell you what the heck are you talking about when I'm
Right, right,
reviewing your
exactly.
your report. You know what I mean?
Well, and popping back to our testimony talk, right? You don't want to realize that your suspect was in Florida, Canada, and China all at the exact date and same date and time for the first time when you're sitting up on the stand,
Oh
right?
my goodness,
Because
yeah.
you're going to be a deer in the headlights sitting up there in that chair when the defense attorney says to you, "How is this possible?" Because you're not going to have time to do the validate, validate, validation when you're sitting there on the stand. So,
Oh my goodness. I have nothing to add. That's what it is. That's beautiful. Well, thank you everybody. I think it's
yeah,
a
thank
really,
you.
yeah, really fun episode, Heather. You're the best. Thank you for again being here with me. Thank you for all the folks
Oh,
in the
thank
chat.
you.
Yeah, if we didn't highlight your comment, mate, I'm rest assured that we read them.
Yes,
So
absolutely read them.
yeah, yeah, and reach out to us in LinkedIn. And I'm gonna say like my kid, because my kid's been watching a lot of YouTube, like educational YouTubes, and he goes and says he makes his own little videos with his little tablet, and he says, "Please like and subscribe." So I'm gonna have him come in and say, "Hey, please like and subscribe." Right? Be part of the
There you go.
conversation. Yeah, reach out to us in LinkedIn, in YouTube, and our emails. And again, we'll see you in the next episode. Again, thank you everybody for being here.
Thank you.
And with that, we say goodbye.
Bye.